Hey there, I'm Cameron King. In this video, this is the last video in a series of videos I, chopped up from a speech that I gave to some local nonprofits here in town about how to take your video creation up to the next level. This last one's all about delivery, so editing and exporting and all that stuff and prepping it for the world to see. That's what this video is all about. So yeah, if watch it, if you like it, please share it with one other person, see if they can get some value out of it, and feel free to hit me up if you ever need anything, want to ask me any questions, leave some comments below. We'll love all that jazz. So enjoy this video, and I appreciate you taking the time to watch. And then now we're going to deliver. So the common problems we see here is, how do you assemble a video? AKA, how do you edit, How do we get all those raw materials and actually put them together? How can I make my video pop? You probably had requests like, how can we make this pop? What does that mean? So we're gonna try to make it pop. What are the best practices for exporting? Exporting is just a fancy word for getting it out of your editing system and to somewhere else. Here we go, here's some softwares. A free and quite robust piece of software, if you like free, is DaVinci Resolve. Track-based editing, Premiere Pro plays well with Creative Cloud, which is like your Photoshops and your After Effects. I personally use Premiere Pro because a lot of my clients do, and I use a lot of After Effects, and so it just makes sense, but I've used all these in some capacity. So this is how you assemble a video. We're going to start with our paper edit, and it is what it sounds like. It's the edit on paper. I'm a huge advocate of this, especially when you're doing documentary style. That way you're not just muddying through footage and wasting time. You can get a transcription of whatever you captured for, relatively cheap these days, sometimes even free, and you can create a paper edit. So you can just get it on paper, write a script, and that way all you have to do is go in, pull the sound bites, stick them on the A-roll, and then go forward after that. But another great thing about paper edit too is if you actually scripted something beforehand, like a commercial or something like that, this part's already done for you. You just have to go right into editing. So then we're gonna do a radio edit, and a radio edit is essentially taking the paper edit, laying it out in your timeline, laying it out in the editor, and timing it out. It's essentially the radio is what you hear, and you're going to time it out, put some music underneath it so you know what it's going to time out to be. This thing only needs to be a minute, and it's a minute 30, but you got to find somewhere to trim, and you want to get that done before you start wasting your time doing anything else. Next up is the rough cut, which is, once you get your radio edit down, it's like, hey, this is how it's going to look and feel and sound. Does it sound good? Does it sound okay? All right, great. We're going to lock the radio edit in, and now we're going to jump into the rough cut. This is taking all the sequences that we just went over, and the B-roll, and the cutaways, and putting them in there to where it all makes sense on top of your story. At that phase right there, the rough cut, I would still worry about your imagery. What you want to do is go through all your B-roll, find selects, because you're probably going to shoot tons and tons of footage. You're only going to use, if it's a minute piece, you're probably going to use like 40 seconds of, an hour's worth of footage. Go through, choose your selects, put it on the rough cut. Don't stress too much about what shot you're using yet. Obviously, you don't want to be total garbage, but we have other phases to go in, and once you cover it one time, go back in, do a fine cut, get all the bad shots out, any bumps, get all the wiggles out, and if you happen to find a better shot that works better here, replace it, that sort of thing. And then after the fine cut, we're going to fine cut, and after the fine cut, we're going to fine cut, and just fine cut until the dogs come home. Obviously, it's a joke, but yeah, you fine cut until, there's not that it's lazy necessarily for me, but there is a point where as a creative anyway, where what is not good enough for you is good enough for most people. Does that make sense? So if you can get an edit like 90% there by your mind, it's probably 110% to somebody else. That's just something I've learned over the years. Not that I'm being lazy, but like, do I really need to move this over and just pixel pinch everything? No, I don't. Case in point, I just released a video for a client last week, and to me it was very rough around the edges, but the client loved it, and it wasn't like color corrected, and it was just still kind of had this raw, like rough cut feel to it. But that thing blew up, man. It did, it's gotten like almost 3,000 watches considering the market they're in is, I was like, cool. And it was like, had a lot of interaction. I'm like, there you go, case in point. So, and then I go and like polish something up and it gets only 2 views, but that's just how it is. So it's all about story, right? And how people feel when they watch it. Make it pop. All right, so add transitions. This is after we get through the fine cut. We're gonna go in and add transitions sparingly. Don't go crazy. No cross dissolves. I'm looking at all y'all. No cross dissolves. Don't do it. I preach against no cross dissolves unless it's at the top and the bottom of the edit. Fade up from black, fade down from black. If it's in the middle, unless you're creating an epic film and the character needs to go from Saudi Arabia to China, don't use a cross dissolve. Add some motion design elements. So this is a big thing nowadays, and this is sort of what most of my career specializes in is design influence video. So using typography and things like that to really make videos come alive. And then, then from there you can actually take subclips and create these stylized captions on there. And also things like Premiere Pro is just released a version now. They do captions inside of Premiere Pro. You can do it inside there now, which is really cool. And you can stylize it yourself if you're a whiz at that kind of stuff. How are we going to export this thing? Instagram takes 2 forms. I would vouch for the prior one, but 1x1 is cool too if that's your thing. 4x5, 1080 by 1350, which is basically a rectangle versus a square, which is 1x1 at 1080 by 1080. Reels and TikTok are 1080 by 1920, which is your 9:16 aspect ratio, which fits your phone. The vertical videos, YouTube, 1920 by 1080, it's a standard HD output. And then I would advocate these days, reframe all of the above for maximum impact. So what I do, especially for my own content, this goes beyond, this is just for like some of my teaching content. I'll create a YouTube video that's say 5 to 8 minutes long, whatever it is. And then I'll take little snippets of it, 20 seconds to 30 seconds here and there of it, and create these other formats just to plop it up on Instagram and get people to go to my YouTube or to my website or whatever that is. And then we launch. We launch. No, so we launch. After we do all that, and then you get out of breath, and we launch it. So there you have it. Launches basically get it out there, tell everyone in your organization to share, get your friends, get your family to share, because you still need to tickle the algorithm, as they say. Actually, I don't know if they say that or not. That's just what I say. So you're going to tickle the algorithm, tell people to share it, and make sure you post everywhere you need to post it for your audience to see. And if you have marketing people on your staff, they probably know more about that than I do. I'm a creative guy. I can do some marketing, but you have the whizzes on your team to do that kind of sort of thing. Yeah, that's it. It was a lot. I thank you. I hope I built my case for using video. If you have any questions, I'm here.